Welcome to Excel 2010 video number 28. Hey, if you want to download this workbook, Excel 2010 Statistics Chapter 3, click on the link below the video. In this video here, we want to talk about a box plot. And last video, we talked about the 5-number summary, min, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and max. We have these numbers. Now, box plot is just a visual portrayal of this that gives us a good picture of the spread of data. Now, for this class and testing and all that kind of stuff, we're not going to have to create these in Excel. We're just going to understand at least what they mean visually. So if you see them in an article or something, and you might try to do a few by hand. I will show you how to do it in Excel, though, but it's not required for testing. All right, so here's our box plot. The way you draw it is you have quartile 1, quartile 2 are median, and quartile 3, and there's a little box. That little box right there represents the distance from quartile 1 to the median, and then the second box is quartile 2 to the third quartile. Now, these all together are the interquartile range, and the middle 50% of the values will lie within this box. So we can see quarter 1 is about 22, quarter 3 is about 29. So 50% of the values lie between those two ends there. Now, the whisker part, this is actually called a whisker and box plot. The whisker part is a line that goes out to the min and a line that goes out to the max. You can also create an upper limit. And so anything past this would be an outlier. Now, we don't have any outliers in this data set right here, but you'd see them as little dots or asterisks or something like that. All right, now, again, that's all you need to know for testing this class. But I will show you, if you're interested. These charts do get a little bit complicated. I'm going to go over to actually BP2 answer. There's our box plot. We have a little set of data here. We have our first quartile, median, third quartile, our lines to our min and max. And actually, we'll even show you how to add some outlier lines and the mean. We'll also later see how to create one from multiple sets of data. And finally, we'll get to see how to create a kind of an approximation using a open, high-low, close stock chart. All right, let's come over here. All right, we're on the sheet BP2. Here's our scores. Let's go and calculate our 5-number summary. And remember, we can use the quartile. I'm going to use quartile dot inclusive because I want the min and max also. I'm going to get my data set, Control Shift down arrow, and F4 to lock it, comma, and then this quartile value. All right, so we have our 5 numbers. We need to calculate the interquartile range. That'll help us calculate our lower and upper limits. Quartile range is, again, the range for the middle 50% of the values. And it's always quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Now, one way to calculate a lower and upper limit is to go quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. So I'll get my interquartile range. That's simply that times 1.5. Now, I need to subtract that amount. I'm going to copy that. Subtract that amount from the quartile 1. So in essence, I'm subtracting that little amount from the first one, from the quartile 1. And now I'll take quartile 3 and add that same little amount. And I'm going to calculate the mean using the average function while I'm at it. All right, now let's go over here and take a look at how this is constructed. This actually is going to be a stacked bar with a bunch of invisible parts. Now let's think about this. If we want these floating out here, this distance right here is the actual min, right? So the min is, we calculate min 23 up here. But how do we get, this is the min value right here. How do we get from the min all the way to the first quartile? Well, we can't just add from here because a stacked bar, the distance here is not the actual value 29, or no, sorry, the quartile is up here. I know this is really small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So this value is easy enough. We just plot the 23 and it plots the height of it. But we can't just plot 52.75 because the distance here, it would be 52.75 if we plotted that. But if we plot the difference between these, 52.75 minus 23, that's the distance to go from the min to the quartile. Similarly, when we get here, it's going to be the distance from quartile 1 to quartile 2. All right, so that's kind of the conceptual trick. And we're gonna plot those distances over here and then plot it and make some of them invisible and add some error bars. We're even going to have to mash up a XY scatter to get those lines there. All right, so I'm going to go to box plot 2. So all of these are going to be our values to plot. In essence, they're distances. Remember, we need this minus this to get the quartile 1 box length. But watch this. For the min, I'm going to do a little trick. I'm going to say, hey, the min minus, and I'm going to leave this cell blank so that I'm subtracting 0. That way I get my 23, the height for that. But these are relative cell references. So as I copy down, these cell references will move, and it will subtract this minus this, then this minus this minus that, etc. So I enter that. And I copy down. You can see when I put this in edit mode, sure enough, it's subtracting those, subtracting those. So that's kind of a clever way to get our values for our stacked bar. Now I'm going to highlight all of this. This will put this in the legend. We don't really need it. All I have to do is highlight this. I'm going to go up to Insert Bar. By the way, you could do just as easily do stacked bar or stacked column. Now, it doesn't understand that, so I'm going to go Switch Row and Column. And there's our stacked bar. I'm going to delete this legend. We don't need that. I'm going to click here, and the keyboard shortcut to format elements of a chart is Control-1. I'm going to go to Fill None. Then I'm going to click here, Fill None. And I'm going to go to the last one and fill, no fill. Now, how do I get to there? Sometimes it's hard to click. You can click on it, right? Another trick is you can click here and use your left arrow. Another way to do it is if you go up to Layout, you can select whichever one you want, Series 1, 2, so 2. Now, the trick, now we're going to add what's called an error bar. Now, I want a line from here all the way to the marker of the min, right? And I'm going to do a similar thing on the upper end. Now, for the lower end, we're going to add an error bar minus. And we're selecting this invisible bar. So the lower end, the way we're going to get this bar hanging out here is a little bit different than the upper end. But you ready? You highlight that. You go up to Layout, Error Bars. More. Now, one thing about this dialog box is you definitely want to be able to get to that value. I can barely get to it, but I'll be able to arrow to it. All right, you ready? We're going to go minus. We're going to come down here to Custom. We're going to select Specify Value. Positive, I'm going to get the negative. I'm going to delete that. And then I need that quartile 1 distance, but I'm going to click on quartile 2 and then up arrow, because I can't quite get to it. Then click OK. Then click Close. By the way, I think I have notes down here. Now, for the upper error end, we're not going to highlight this invisible one. We're going to highlight this one and add a positive. All right? So I'm going to come up to Error Bars, More. I'm making sure that I can get to this, because once you open up this one right here, you can't move it. All right, so here, I want plus, custom, specify. the positive, I'm going to delete that little array thing there and click on the distance from the quartile 3 to the max is 15.5. Click OK, click OK. That's the basic box plot, right? The rest of it is you can put or not, but that's the basic box plot. And that's, once you get the error thing down, you read the instructions down there or you figure that out. This one's pretty straightforward. It's a stacked bar with 2 error values. The only key is for the first error bar, you click the second part of the bar and then do minus custom negative, and then it's the quartile 1 minus min. To add the upper one, you click the fourth part, and then it's an error bar plus custom positive, and then it's the max minus the quarter 3. Now, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. To get the outlier lines, we're actually going to have to actually, let's do the mean first. The mean is a little bit easier. We're still going to have to mash. This is a stacked bar, and we need an xy because we have 2 values here. And by the way, for all of these extra lines, we're just going to stick with on the vertical axis, the y-axis, from 0 to 1. All right, so watch this. I'm going to copy, or I'm going to go here, click, design, and we're going to add some data by going to select data, add. Series name, I'm going to say mean. Series value. Notice this is not an xy. It doesn't have any idea it's supposed to be an xy, right? I'm going to click there. Now what this is going to do is it's going to momentarily plot an extra part here of the existing chart. So I'm going to click OK. All right, you can see that. And then I'm going to click OK. You can see that there it is, the mean. So now I'm going to click on this, and now I need to change the chart type. So go up to Change Chart Type. I'm going to go to XY Scatter. A marker is fine because this is the single point I want to plot the mean. I want to click OK. Up there, that's because it still doesn't quite know that it's the right type of XY. But notice what happened. It jumped over here. It's now an XY, but it has the wrong X and Y. So go back up to Select Data. This is pretty really forcing Excel Chart Wizard to do something it's not really programmed to do. I'm going to click on Mean and Edit. And watch this. Just a moment ago when we clicked, before we changed the chart type, it was just the series name and the value. But now it's got the series name, which is mean. That's fine. The X, and then the Y, delete. And I'm going to click right there. You can already see it's popping up there. Click OK. Click OK. Now what's so cool about this is that here is the median, right? The median is that line in the middle of the box plot. The fact that we see that the mean is below it, we know that there's a few smaller values pulling the mean down. So visually, you can see all that. You can also see that the whisker on the low end is quite long. All right. Let's see how to go ahead and plot the lower limit and the upper limit or higher limit. I said higher limit. And we're going to plot these as line. We're going to have a vertical line here and here. Now the trick here is, we're going to mash 2 charts together. We're going to do an XY scatter. How in the world on an XY scatter do you get a vertical line? Well, all of the x's have to be the same. So here's an x, x at 0, and x at 1. Now we only need a 0 and a 1. We only need 2 actual dots to plot a line. So I just put 0, 1, and then I put the upper limit 2. So we're going to have to add these. Now I'm going to click on the chart, Design, Select Data, Add. And look at that. Now it came up as XY scatter. We already have an XY scatter there. The series name is going to be lower limit. The X values will be these, and the Y values will be these. Click OK. I can't wait, so I'm going to click OK. Oh, it plotted it. So now we have to change chart type. because we really didn't want the scatter. We wanted the line. Boop. And I'm going to do it without markers, and then it will just show a vertical line. Now let's do the same thing up here. Select, add, series name is upper, x values, y values. Click OK, click OK. Oh, look there. It's got those two. So we're going to have to change the chart type again. I'm changing it to a line there. So there we have our upper limit, our lower limit, anything past there would be an outlier. Our mean, our median, quartile 1, quartile 2, and our whiskers for min and max. Now, this is kind of annoying here. Do it another way. Let's go to Control 1. I'm going to go to number formatting, and the custom number formatting for nothing, I already have it here. You have to actually add it, is semicolon, semicolon, semicolon. That means no matter what number it is, show nothing. Click Add, and then Apply. And now you can see it's gone. So there we have our box plot with the lower, the upper limits, and the mean. Let's go over to BP3. Now, oftentimes you have lots of sets of data. So I have 3 CPA scores here. And I want to calculate five different box plots. Now, I have my 0 to 1 to 0 to 4 here, so I can calculate my min to max. And I'm actually going to use the quartile. And I don't want to have to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm actually going to use mixed cell references. I'm going to Control-Shift down now and F4 twice. I've locked the row reference, but not the column. And then I'm going to get this, and I'm going to lock. I'm hitting my F4 key. I'm locking the column reference, but not the row. So that way I can enter this and copy it down and over. One formula works for the whole table here. If you're watching this and you're in this class and you don't mix cell references, mix cell references, I'm sorry. Usually that's something you get in an advanced class. But there you go. If you don't know them, you can calculate 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's come up here. We have to calculate our differences. So for our charts, min minus this. And I left it blank on purpose. That way I can copy it down. And this one will work down and over. And you can come right here and see, sure enough, that works just fine. So those are all the differences determine bar lengths, including the first one, which always will be the min. Actually, you know what? Last time we didn't highlight this, and it kept it series 1, series 2. These, even though we delete them in the legend, are useful because they'll show up in the source data dialog box. So I'm going to highlight this range right here. Go to Insert, Bar. By the way, you could do a stacked column too. I'm going to do a bar, stacked bar. I'm going to click on the first one, Control 1, Fill No. Click on the second one, Fill No. Click on the third one, Fill No. You can delete that. Click on this box right here. Go up to Error. That's Layout. Errors, more errors. This is on the low end. It's the second box, so I click minus, custom, specify. Ooh, this is where I'm going to get in trouble. I can't get to my numbers. OK, so I'm going to use a little trickery here. OK, so minus, custom, specify, and we want the negatives, right? I'm going to click in. This is the distance from quartile 1, min to quartile 1. I'm going to click there and Control-Shift right arrow. So that's a way to highlight underneath the chart. Click OK. OK, so we have that. And now on the lower end, we click that second box. On the upper end, it's a positive, so we want it to go from the edge of this up. So I'm going to go to Error Bars. This is going to be plus, custom, specify. These are the positive ones. This is this max row, the difference between quartile 3 and max. So I click there, Control Shift right arrow, click OK, click close. All right, so there we have. And by the way, our labels over here come straight from there. If I were needing to edit this, it was advantageous to have those labels there, right? Just so at least the series is named. It's easy to see which is which. But here I have this data randomized, so if I hit the F9 key, you can clearly see the maximum value is quite low here compared to some of these other ones, and the interquartile range is much smaller here, greater up here. So as the data is changing, our box plots are changing also. One more trick, BP4. This is kind of forcing the issue. Open, high, low, close. If we go over here, this is actually a stock chart. And you'll see it's not going to put the line for median. But it will have this little interquartile range and on the low end and the high end, so the min and the max. And you have to follow the convention of how a high-low chart is made. You have to list the open, high, low, close, which means quartile 1, max, min, quartile 3. All right, so I'm going to do that same trick as I did before, equals quartile. I'm going to highlight this range here and lock just the row reference, comma, and then the actual quartile. Lock just the column reference. Control Enter, double click and send it down. Copy it over. Check it and see, oh, sure enough, it got it right. Now this one, actually, all we need is these right here, not those. Insert and other. High, low, close. High, low, no, I'm sorry, open, high, low, close. And there you go. Actually, let's go. Well, yeah, we don't need this, so I'm going to delete this. And now if I hit the F9 key, you can see they're moving around there. All right, so that's a lot about box plots. If you're in the class and got through all of that, absolutely awesome. Otherwise, just make sure you at least know visually what they mean. All right, see you next video.